Hey, and welcome to the Expo Show. I'm your host, Greg Merriweather. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of things that we're doing here at the Expo through Opportune Indy. And my special guest today truly needs no introduction. She's always on the scene. She's always doing some work. And I know she's got a lot to say today. And that's my guest, Dr. Tuesday Tate. How are you, man?
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. You know, we've kind of, we've had times where we've run past each other and said, hey, sister, how you doing?
Yeah.
But here we are today.
Here we are today.
So Tuesday, you got a lot of stuff going on. I know that you've got the Father Forum coming up, and that will be April the 7th, 2018 at Westside Missionary Baptist Church. And I want to talk about this because I think that a Father Forum is such an important thing with the way things are in our community. We see a lot of absenteeism, whether it be systemic or whatever, but we need our fathers. I think that
we need them.
I was talking to some gentlemen yesterday, and I said, man, there needs to be a shift. There needs to be order placed back in.
Because you guys are the head.
Absolutely. So tell me about this conference.
Well, the forum, the Father Forum Conference, was birthed out of the Father Loss, L-O-S-S Forum, which I started in 2011. And I brought women together in one setting to talk about their father issues and men in another setting. Over time, I realized the men really needed more time to talk. I would set 2.5 hours aside for this forum, and we would be there 4 hours later. And I'm like, the men need an avenue to talk about their personal father issues as well as them as fathers. And so in that setting of the Father Loss Forum, we would deal with how were you affected financially, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, psychologically, mentally, with your father either being absent or being lost. And the question becomes, what do you mean by lost? Well, a lot of times our fathers are in our lives, but they're not connected. Yes. And that's the story of the 6 Tates in my family. Okay. My father was there. He passed away when I was 17 years old. But he was there, but he did not know how to be involved or engaged with his children. And so the acronym God gave me was PIE, P-I-E. They're present, but they're not involved and they're not engaged. And because of that, the children do not experience the full pie of that relationship of, I know, ain't God good? Like He'll just give you something. He'll give you something. So they don't have that full experience of a healthy relationship with their children. And it becomes generational because my father didn't have that. I have 2 brothers and they are very much engaged in their children's lives because they made a decision. But it doesn't mean that the lack of it with our father did not affect them. Right. And so it really started for my thesis, for my master's. Sure. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get the data. I had no idea it was going to be 6 years later, 8 years later, and we were still looking at this father issue because people say it's an epidemic, but epidemics have an ending. And this has been in our community for 30, 40 years. Truly, if really my dad would have been 82, so 80 some years because he didn't know his father. Right. So this has been an issue maybe way back to slavery. Yeah, and I think about that, when you're a young man and you may have a child. I was a young man when I was 24 when my daughter was born. And honestly, I guess I would fall into the pie category because my father was there, but he was the same way. He was not involved or engaged. And he was in the house. My daughter, I was not married, the whole nine. So therefore, it was like, I didn't even realize that my mind was there. Yeah. It was like, okay, I'm mimicking a behavior, but it was even worse because my presence wasn't even felt. And then as time went on, I'm trying to still build that relationship because of the lack of engagement, the lack of being involved because I didn't know. And also a lot of men don't know the damage. We don't really understand the collateral damage that's being built inside our children. And I think that there just needs to be more of this, more open and honest dialogue. And that's what you guys did. Yeah. I mean, and there are no women were allowed at the forum. There are no women allowed at the conference except to serve, to help get to your workshops or whatever. But it was a setting that was safe for men. And the testimonies, Brother Greg, that came out of the forum, men who went and found their fathers, and men who went and reconnected with their fathers. One of the testimonies of one of the brothers is that the next day was a Friday evening. The very first one was a Friday evening, and it was at 7:30. They left at 11:30. Wow. And we fed them too, but they left at 11:30. And one of the gentlemen the next day called his father. And at 30 years, he had never just sat down and had breakfast with his father. So he invited his father to breakfast. That was 2011. Fast forward 7 years later, guess who is his father's caregiver? He is.
Or he is.
He is. Wow. His father's ill, so he literally every day cares for his father in his home. And so we have those testimonies that it works when, I think when men, I believe our men, and I tell women this all the time, they really are more hurt and for lack of a better word, never to offend, because I love our black men, never to offend, but more damaged by things that happened in their childhood than they even know. But they press and they keep going and they get married, or they have children outside of marriage and then they get married, or whatever it is, and they raise their families and they're doing the best that they can without even tapping into, this was an issue for me. I'm still trying to prove something to a daddy I didn't know. I'm still trying to prove something to a father who has passed away. I'm still trying to prove something to a man who had me and then went on the other side of town and had a family. And they don't realize the psychological, emotional, mental impact that lack of receiving that whole pie has had on their lives.
So Dr. Tuesday, I'm gonna give you this free. Okay. You know, I'm gonna give you a marketing thing free, because really, it's like if we looked at a lot of brothers, you know, and looked at them from a battery perspective, it's like the charge that would come from having their father. So many children, so many men and women.
That's right.
If we looked and put a battery right here, and I said, I'm half full or half empty, however you want to look at it. But if I'm saying, like when we see our phone and it says it needs to be connected, if that connection was our father's,
what great things, what greater things.
What would it be like to be fully charged?
Yes, to be fully charged, knowing, because we even understand biblically, it is the father who named, it is the father who declared and proclaimed, put their hands on them and said, this is what you will be. And so many of our men have never experienced a father telling them, you can do it, you great. You can do this. Even if I didn't do it, you can. And just giving them that charge to be bigger, better, greater, and more. And so it's absent from their lives. And so the forum seeks to help us to identify that, start talking about it, and healing those wounds.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue talking to Dr. Tuesday Tate. You're watching The Expo Show.
Saturday, July 21st, get ready for the IBE Music Heritage Festival #2, starring Maze featuring Frankie Beverly, along with Blackstreet featuring Teddy Riley and Dave Hollister, and also starring Brandy. Music Heritage Festival #2 at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, July 21st. Maze featuring Frankie Beverly, Blackstreet featuring Teddy Riley and Dave Hollister, and Brandy. Tickets on sale at all Ticketmaster outlets, the Indiana Black Expo box office, or at IndianaBlackExpo.com.
Hi, I'm Robert Mathis. I spent 14 years playing for your Indianapolis Colts. During that time, I noticed a lot of violence in what has become my city as well. Our most precious resource is being lost at a rapid rate. That resource is our future, better known as our children. I'm here to tell you that I love you. I love the city. I'm Indy, Indy is me. Please, please stop the violence. I'm Robert Mathis, and I am your brother.
And welcome back to the Expo Show. We are here talking about Opportune Indy presents the Father Forum, and my guest today is Dr. Tuesday Tate. And we just got off. I mean, we're moving.
We moving. This was good. That was good. That charge thing, I like that.
I'm with it. So, doctor, you know, when I think about this, And, you know, a lot of people will say, well, she's a woman and it's men. You know, how much of that do you get?
I haven't gotten any of that, but I feel it.
Okay.
The support has been from pastors and community, black and white, other pastors, that this is great, this is what we need, our community needs it. However, I have not seen the actual movement behind it yet. Okay. And that's what I need. And my thought was, if I had 20 churches that would send 10 men, sponsor them, send them, and then those 10 men bring their sons, their nephews, their grandsons, we would fill the house. We would meet the goal to have such an awesome lineup of facilitators and opening speaker of Pastor David Hampton and Dr. Marvin Sapp as the keynote closeout, and these awesome facilitators, Jamal Smith, teaching a workshop on from the street corner to the office corner, and he can talk about it. Okay. And then Paul Bateman talking about life after incarceration. Gardis Tate, who happens to be my brother, is doing a workshop on how to lose $1 million, how he lost $1 million, right? And then in losing $1 million, chasing the money. It's nothing wrong with having the dreams, the desires, and achieving it, and he did, but in that process, he lost his marriage. And so there are things, just how to keep God in the center. A workshop from Jeffrey A. Johnson Jr., Pastor Jeffrey A. Johnson Jr. and Pastor Tyler Hill. They're doing a workshop for millennials. What does a millennial man look like? Right. And then we have two gentlemen who are in their 20s that are doing a workshop on how they forgave their father. One young man, his father was on drugs since he was born, but he was in his life. But I still had to learn to forgive him. And then the other man, his father was incarcerated, and at 23 he met his father. How do I forgive him? And so we have just how PTSD is not just for men, which goes back to that charge thing that we were talking about. Sure. I believe that so many of our men do not understand that they are being affected by post-traumatic stress disorder because of the stresses of being a black man in America. And so then we have Donnell Howard, our good friend, who's doing a workshop on mentoring. Why is it important for men to mentor? A. Thomas Hill, my pastor, is doing a workshop on marriage, 41 years of marriage. They figured out something, and he's figured out how to keep it together. So he'll be talking about that. And Pastor Daryl Brooks will be doing a workshop on prayer. And so we have a wonderful lineup. And so this is great. How did you get the vision? It was God. Right. And I'm just the vessel as a woman. In all honesty, Brother Greg, I was reluctant. God spoke this in 2015. Doing the forum since 2011, and have probably touched about 300 men, and a number of those pastors I listed have been a part of the forum where they shared their father's story. Sure. Now we're at this conference where we have breakouts and national speaker, and I was like, God, I'm not doing that. I'm a woman. What do you mean? I'm single, and right now, and hello, glory to God, and I don't have a covering. I mean, how do I do? And he was like, if I can use a man who was on the backwoods of West Virginia to start a movement with women called Women Are Loose, I can use you to do this. Sure. And I secretly say that he's my mentor.
I'm with that.
Yeah, and so that's Bishop Jakes, of course. Absolutely. And in saying that, I also recognize that because he's a pastor and a male, that may make more sense that he would do a conference for women. But I believe whoever God, and this is what he said, I choose to use who I choose to use. All you are is the vessel I downloaded it to, and you go do what I told you to do. You started it 6 years ago. All this is doing is making it bigger, better, greater, and more. And so my hope is that we can get those 20 churches that will sponsor 10 men. And I have 3 churches right now, so I need 17 more. That will send 10 men. 17 more that will send 10 men, and we can just fill the house and get our teens in there as well.
I mean, you got a host of pastors. I mean, I'm telling you.
Amen.
You got a host of pastors. There. I mean, start there.
And there's so many more. And I know even that day, several of the pastors have said they have things going on that day on April the 7th as Opportune Indy presents this conference with me, the Father Forum Men's Conference. I'm just the host and the visionary. And several of them have said that, and I've simply said, if this can be another opportunity for the men who may not attend that event that you're doing at your church, maybe this can be another option for them, because all the forum is all we desire to do is come alongside the churches to be an addition to what they're already doing for their men. I don't have a church I can put men in. I just have this ministry and this vision that God has given me, and I have a passion to see our men healed and whole, because I believe this: when our men get there, our women get there, our children get there, our families get there, our community, our churches. And so I just have a great deal of faith in what our black men can do.
Obedience is better than sacrifice.
It is.
So let's talk about this as it relates to Opportunity. I know that Opportunity, has the focus on black men, yes, pretty much from 18 to 24, but we're also going beyond that because we know that there's a necessity. Absolutely. So when we look at this, and this is a piece of it, pretty much rebuilding the home, rebuilding the community, all these things that Opportunity Indy is focused on. What made you partner with Opportunity, just be like, you know what, I think this is the perfect partnership? Absolutely.
I had the opportunity and the pleasure of serving under Tanya Bell 2012-13 over their youth department. Okay. And I was the youth and families director, and so I knew what IBE's desire was and how to reach our community. And so when I was just being prayerful about who could come alongside of me and be a sponsor, I reached out, and I'm so grateful that IBE, Tanya Bell, as the president and CEO, decided, yeah, let's partner with this, because she saw the vision. And I even said that to her recently: thank you for seeing the vision. Fathers and Family has come alongside as a sponsor as well as a professional sponsor. And so we're still looking for sponsors. If there are other organizations or churches that would desire to be a sponsor, sending your men is a great way. I have had churches that say we'll sponsor 10 youth or something like that. That's great. But I need the youth, right, tied to the youth that you're sponsoring. Absolutely. So it's been, I'm grateful for having the presenting sponsorship.
A lot of people may not have known that Opportunity was part of IBE. Right. And so I think that, that's another thing that we have to understand is IBE does a lot more than just a celebration.
And the football game.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to send a shout out to Tanya Bell on that as well, because they do a lot to help our community. Yeah. And then they do, it's something to just do the work, yes. And I think that there are times when you do the work, but you're so busy you don't talk about the work that you do. That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. So I just want to make sure that we say that for them. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about good men. We're going to talk about what is it that we hear as men, what a good man is, all those kinds of things. So we're going to take this break. We're going to come back. You're watching the Expo Show.
Saturday, July 21st, get ready for the IBE Music Heritage Festival #2, starring Maze featuring Frankie Beverly, along with Blackstreet featuring Teddy Riley and Dave Hollister, and also starring Brandy. Music Heritage Festival #2 at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, July 21st. Maze featuring Frankie Beverly, Blackstreet featuring Teddy Riley and Dave Hollister, and Brandy. Tickets on sale at all Ticketmaster outlets, the Indiana Black Expo box office, or at IndianaBlackExpo.com.
Hi, I'm Robert Mathis. I spent 14 years playing for your Indianapolis Colts. During that time, I noticed a lot of violence in what has become my city as well. Our most precious resource is being lost at a rapid rate. That resource is our future, better known as our children. I'm here to tell you that I love you. I love the city. I'm Indy, Indy is me. Please, please stop the violence. I'm Robert Mathis, and I am your brother.
And welcome back to the Expo Show. I'm your host, Greg Merriweather. We're here with Dr. Tuesday Tate. We're talking about Opportunity Presents the Father Forum. So, Dr. Tuesday, we're about to get going now.
Okay. All right, let's go.
So, men, one of the things that men always hear is, you're not a good man, what a man would do if you were a man, all those types of things. One of the things that I really want to, kind of put a damper on is just the fact that we're all learning.
That's right, forever.
Because if you came from a home where your father was absent, if I came from a home where my father was there but absent, it's like, who's the example?
That's right.
And I think that it's such Jesus. But I think that there's such a, you know, there have been so many things, cliches put out on what real men do. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we face as black men is being challenged with what looks like a man without the means of certain men. And I think that, you know, that's been one of the...
You don't have an example.
Yeah, you don't have the example. Yeah. I think that even when we look at, you know, just the opportunities, being a target, all those types of things come into play. And so when it's kind of put out there that this is what a real man looks like, he does this, he provides for this. And we have a lot of things going on on this side of the table that if left ignored or if kind of prodded, it's kind of like we become defensive. And what happens, and I will be honest in this, we retreat. You know, we may say I think a lot of men have learned to live in pain and cover their pain, but there are a lot of us hurting, but we cover it because we've been trained to say that if I tell you I'm hurting, then I'm not being a man.
No. Please be transparent. You know, one of the slogan for the conference is, we are seeking transformation, not transient. And so we want the change, the impact to be transformational, where the men are being transparent, because transient is temporary. And one of the things that I saw in the forum, because there wasn't no woman there rubbing on them, it's okay, baby, or passing them a tissue, they were able to do that. And that's what we want the conference to do in those breakouts. And the words that I'm sure Dr. Hampton will bring and Dr. Sapp will bring. But I saw, because I saw the videos after, men crying, men hugging each other saying, son, it's going to be okay, because the older man was there, the middle man was there, and the teen was there. And I said to you a little earlier that T-Tape Ministries is the ministry that God has given me, but it's T-Tape Ministries 3G, meaning 3 generations. I think it's important that our teens are in the same place with the millennials and with the senior men, that they can see what it looks like, and the middle can see what the older looks like, and the older can look back and say, but who defines what? Well, we know, I think we know this, the minimum. They provide, they protect, they instruct, and they discipline. I think all men come into the earth kind of knowing that. And so, but beyond that, it really can become environmental. What has the impact on your life been that even impacts you on what providing looks like, on what disciplining looks like? Instruct, how do I instruct when I don't even know what instruction looks like? You know, and so I think we have to, I don't want to say be easier on our men. I don't know if that's necessarily the word, but maybe the word is understanding and absolutely patient to know that, and I said Jesus, but honestly, I believe short of God, my pastor tells the story that he didn't know what that looked like to be a father and a husband, but just seeking God and very honest and transparent in their 41 years that he made mistakes, but just continuing to seek God, that he was able to get there, and certainly his wife, our First Lady, praying for him. I just believe that our men can get there when they do have because men are visual learners. And they do learn by example. And so when they have an example to say, oh, that's what it looks like, they may look at, a young man will look at you and say, I want it like Brother Greg. They may look at Dr. Preston and say, that's how I want it, or Donnell, or my brother, or my pastor, and say, that's what I wanted to look. But it's so many good examples, and there's something in them that connects them to say, that's what I want it to look like. Then align yourself. That's the one you mentor and bring along with you. And I think, Pastor, I came out of Eastern Star, and Pastor Johnson used to always say, if you're going to be a copycat, copy the right cat. That's right. So that young man that wants to mimic something of what manhood and fatherhood should look like, because the conference isn't just about fatherhood. It's about manhood. It's about sonship. So being the priest, prophet, and king, and understanding you are really all of that, because that's what God put you in the earth to be. And so we want that to come out through this conference. And so to have great sponsors like Opportune Indian and the Fathers and Family and others that will come along, but to not have all three of those generations there, we want the impact to be transformational.
So you have Pastor Sapp coming.
Yes.
Now the ladies, you don't tell them. Go on and tell them.
Okay. So ladies, you are allowed at 2 o'clock, not before. Yeah. And Pastor Sapp is excited about coming, and I'm so grateful that he agreed to do this for us. Our first conference at Westside Church, 6321 La Paz Trail, where Pastor Michael Bryant is the pastor there, and allowing me to even host the conference there. So the support and encouragement has been real. So women, 2 o'clock, you are allowed, 2 o'clock, where's the camera, 2 o'clock. You're allowed to come, and at 2 o'clock, we're going to do something. We'll have them be in a private room, and we'll minister to the women. The women will be given a sheet of paper, Brother Greg, that'll have all of these different hurts that have perhaps happened in their lives that came by a male. And they will check their box. I was raped, I was molested, I was left with 3 kids, whatever your thing was. I have a young lady who was sex trafficked by her uncle. And so they will take that sheet of paper, put their name on it, check their box. We will bring those women into the sanctuary, and several men will welcome you being a part if you're available, have agreed to just stand in the gap, to stand proxy. And we will just place those women individually in front of a gentleman. They'll take that sheet of paper and they'll say, Tuesday, I'm sorry this hurt happened to you. Will you forgive me? I stand proxy for the man who did it and ask, will you forgive me? They'll pray briefly over her, and then we'll release her to go. So it's full healing. Yeah. We want to do a covenant type of healing that day. And so at 2 o'clock, they're allowed to come.
2 o'clock. What's the cost associated?
$35 for men, $10 for teens. Again, Westside Church, 6321 La Paz Trail. And they can register via my website, www.drtuesday.net.
Absolutely. So let me tell you, make sure we need the churches. Get your men, 10 men, right? 10 men. How many churches?
20.
20 churches, 10 men. We can rock the place out, fill the place up. It's necessary. I think we have to do our part. We have to begin making sure that we do our part for our community.
They get breakfast and lunch.
Breakfast and lunch?
Yes.
I heard.
We're going to feed them.
We're going to feed you too. So this has been Dr. Tuesday Tate. I'm so thankful that you have stopped by. I look forward to hearing more about whatever it is that you're doing, Doctor, because I know you stay busy. So I appreciate you, sister.
Thank you.
Absolutely. This has been the Expo Show. I'm your host, Greg Merriweather. Make sure you check out this conference, Saturday, April 7, 2018, Westside Missionary Baptist Church, 6321 La Paz Trail, here in the great city of Indianapolis. This has been the Expo Show. Have a great week.
Saturday, July 21st, get ready for the IBE Music Heritage Festival #2, starring Maze featuring Frankie Beverly, along with Blackstreet featuring Teddy Riley and Dave Hollister, and also starring Brandy. Music Heritage Festival #2 at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, July 21st. Maze featuring Frankie Beverly, Blackstreet featuring Teddy Riley and Dave Hollister, and Brandy. Tickets on sale at all Ticketmaster outlets, the Indiana Black Expo box office, or at IndianaBlackExpo.com.